Hi, everyone, and welcome to MedEdge. I'm Marcus Grimm. A quick reminder that MedEdge is brought to you by Medtrics, which is the platform for medical student, resident, faculty, and administration engagement for both UME and GME. Learn more at medtricslab.com or from my co-host, Medtrics CEO Santosh Cherian, but not today. Tasha's sitting this one out. Now, quick question for our listeners. What does Vanilla Ice have to do with medical education? Well, 34 years ago, if you can believe that, the rapper encouraged us all to stop, collaborate, and listen. Now, much more recently, today's guest presented a poster at the 2023 ACGME conference. The topic, Stop, Collaborate, and Listen, creating a culture of coordinator collaboration and mentorship through the formation of a subspecialty organization. I wish Vanilla Ice would have added that line at the end. That would have been a much different song. We're joined today by Meredith Feldman, who is the Neonatal-Perinatal Fellowship Program Coordinator at the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, CHOP, for those of us who like to keep it simple, and Amy Vezzetti, who is the Program Coordinator at UPMC Neonatal-Perinatal Medicine Fellowship, GME Senior Department Manager. Those titles, you guys make me tired just before we even get started. You may notice that while both Meredith and Amy have different employers, they have something very in common with one another. They both work within that neonatal-perinatal subspecialty. And since 2020, in fact, they've been collaborating together quite a bit. Vanilla Ice, we're proud. Meredith and Amy, welcome to MedEdge. We're thrilled to have you today.
Thank you. We're very excited.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us.
We always like to get started with a few origin stories. Now, Meredith, you hold a Master's of Management and Graduate Certificate in Leadership from Strayer University. People are going to hear a lot of Pennsylvania locations today, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your first degree, which is a BS in elementary education, same one as my wife has, from Cabrini. Meredith, how did you find yourself in graduate medical education?
Well, so my former life, I was a kindergarten teacher for about 12 years. It just started to get very draining, and I was just worn out from it, and I decided, you know what, I think it's time to take my career in a different direction. Had no idea what I wanted to do. Was looking around and somebody told me about an administrative assistant position open in the graduate medical education, actually over at the University of Pennsylvania. I started there, had no clue what graduate medical education was, and eventually learned a lot. And a couple years later, I got hired at CHOP for their neonatology program coordinator job. And I've been there now for 6 years and love it.
That's great. Now, Amy, you also received your bachelor's degree in Pennsylvania from Geneva College. Started in healthcare in 2013 in patient access for UPMC. You've been in your current role since 2019. What brought you into the GME world?
Well, I have always wanted to work with learners. That is what I focused my undergrad education on. And so when this opportunity happened in 2019, that the program coordinator position was open in neonatology, I applied. It has been wonderful. I love getting to work with learners again. Adult learners are definitely different, but still same joy and excitement and watching them grow and develop.
There's probably a joke there I could ask Meredith about comparing the learners you have now with kindergarten, but
I'm trying to bite my tongue.
Well, hey, listen, I'm going to skip right to the punchline on this one. Meredith, you are the founder, and Amy, you are a founding member of the Organization of Neonatal Training Program Coordinators, and you'll have to do we call it ONTPC or ONTPC? Okay. Now, the mission of that organization is to collaborate nationally with all neonatal perinatal medicine program coordinators to enhance and increase knowledge of neonatal perinatal medicine subspecialty fellowship training programs, which is really, really interesting, right? Because we talk about programs for all coordinators, but here your group focuses on that subspecialty. Now, collectively, you and others have decided that type of collaboration at the subspecialty level is vital. Why is that, Meredith?
We have so many different intricacies that other programs don't have. I mean, overall, I think there are a lot of similarities between us and other programs, but there's so many little things that we have to do and that we have to understand that other programs don't, that I think it's really important to have those connections with other coordinators who also work with those issues.
Excellent. We'll talk about some of those issues. Amy, what would you add to that introduction?
I would also add that we founded our subspecialty group because of the success of the program directors group, so the ONTPD. It has been around since, I believe, 1990, and they have done so much and accomplished so much in collaboration. So that falls under the AAP section on neonatal-perinatal medicine. They've also developed TCAN, which is training in early career neonatologists. And so we get the chance to collaborate with them and really focus on the future of neonatology. And I think that is an important reason why we did just something for our subspecialty, that we have that opportunity.
Saw others come before you doing something similar at the PD level. The one of the things that we just have to spend a few minutes on is the timing of this whole thing. It's not lost on me that this was launched in June of 2020. It's barely 90 days after COVID arrived. This is going to be a great discussion today, and I think what you're doing is amazing. But that was a jaw dropping, because I know what June of 2020 was like for me, and it was pretty overwhelming. And Meredith, I have to ask you, was that just coincidence, or did the pandemic intensify some of the things that you've been seeing? How did the timing line up for this?
I don't think it was coincidental. I think I probably had it in the back of my mind, but didn't really think a lot about it. But when you're sitting at home and you're not really around other people, and I kind of need that social outlet and those connections, I thought, like, you know what, this would be a great time to try to get this formed, especially now that we have these different virtual platforms. I feel like before this, nobody ever used virtual platforms. I think maybe there were a couple meetings that would be recorded, but it was just perfect timing that everything aligned.
So I'm also going to assume, Amy, you're also sitting at home. This is COVID time, and had you spoken to Meredith before? Or like, had you known each other? How did you first hear about the program, and what was your reaction?
So I was newly in my role. I had just started in the fall of 2019, and then the pandemic happened, that spring. And as we know, in medical education, everything is cyclical. So I was going into graduation, onboarding, recruitment, brand new, basically. And I had no idea what I was doing, I'll be honest. And to get this email saying, we'd like to start this. Are you interested? Immediate yes. I needed that. It was almost like she threw me a life ring when I was in the middle of the ocean. So it was very much needed at that time.
Oh, wow. That's great timing for you. Now in 2023, so now we'll fast forward 3 years, at the ACGME conference, both of you, along with several others, presented a poster about the benefits that were derived from ONTPC. And one of the topics you surveyed members about, or two of the topics, were job-related stress as well as coordinator knowledge. And so obviously, Amy, coordinator knowledge, you're new to the role, you're new to everything, so I'm sure you jumped on that right away. Now, in both cases, you're showing a direct correlation to membership. The members felt that stress has gone down and coordinator knowledge has gone up. But I'm curious, Meredith, if we go back to 2020, you've got coordinator knowledge, which is things we need to know, but we've got that stress topic in there. And I think all of us would say, 2020 was some of the most stressful times that we've all been through. I'm curious, Meredith, when you were beginning to set this up, were you already thinking about those two different tracks, or how are you thinking about what types of content your team should be working on for this?
I think I love getting people together. It's one of my strengths, and I think that was my initial goal, was just to get us together and then kind of come up with a plan with, hey, what do we want to do? Who's interested? And we started setting up these executive committee meetings and quarterly meetings, and we would brainstorm different topics. And all of a sudden we realized there's a lot we need to know. And we would get buy-in from other people. I think we sent out a red cap asking them what topics they would like to go over. And it just kind of spiraled from that. And you realize you think you know a lot, and there's so much more you need to know.
Oh, that's amazing. That is cool. And clearly, your subspecialty has agreed. Since launching, you've swiftly grown. Meredith has the founding period of being June of 2020. By August of 2020, you've got 18 coordinators. I'm assuming, Amy, you were one of those first 18. The last number I saw was around 80. I'm curious, and I meant to look this up, but I didn't. How does your team feel about that number? Is that a good start? Do you feel like it's leveled off? Do you have a lot of room to grow? Just how do you feel about the size of the organization and what your hopes are for the next few years?
I think it's really impressive that we've grown so much, and that's been helpful having the ONTPD because they've kind of gotten our name out there too. But I would love for it to continue growing. I believe there's about 150 programs. So I'm not sure why some of them haven't joined us, but we really try to get it out there. And I would love to just keep growing. And we're also expanding in other ways, not just within our organization, but we're expanding with other ones. So we might start collaborating with another similar organization. So I think there's ways to grow it outwardly that way and not just within our ONTPC.
Well, I would say if there's 150 and you're already at 80, more than half of the program, that's impressive. So clearly you're doing a lot right. You started this during COVID, and you mentioned that, and I certainly remember during those days. At first, it was all, let's just go on a Zoom call. Let's have some human connection. Now in this post-COVID era. What does it look like for the group now? Do you have these meetings on Zoom, Facebook, Slack channels? There's a lot of ways to manage a group like this, and I'm curious what channels have worked for your team.
So we're still doing, because we're all over the country, we still do Teams or use Zoom for our meetings. But we also have a very active Facebook page. It's a private page, so we can kind of air our grievances and ask questions. So we've a lot of activity on that. We're trying to set up a website. So we're getting there. That's one of our goals. We try to meet as often as we can. We have, the virtual happy hours, or we can all just get together. So we're learning as we go along different ways to make it work. And then at the conferences, whoever's at the conferences, we always make sure we get together. So it's extra nice to be able to meet in person. And hopefully one day we can have our own in-person conference, but we'll see.
Amy, do you recall the first conference that you got to meet some other ONTPC members in person? What was that like?
Yeah, it was spring of 2022. It was the APPD conference in San Diego. That was wonderful. We presented a poster on the formation of our organization. Just the fact that we saw a need and put it together. So I was able to meet the coordinators that I've been working with for 2 years from all over the country. And it was definitely surreal, but it also was, I already knew them. And we, collaborated and worked on projects for, a long time, and then finally got to meet in person. It was really great. And so we jokingly say that when we meet up at conferences at ACGME, at APPD, because we're all pediatrics, it's like summer camp reunion, because we keep in touch throughout the year and it's work focused. But when we finally get to see each other, it's really great to have that social interaction.
Oh, that's cool. So Meredith, I want to understand. Obviously I don't work in neonatal or perinatal care, and I'm really curious about some of the activities or processes that a coordinator in your subspecialty might benefit from learning from someone within their subspecialty. What are some of the nuances that the people within your subspecialty deal with that others coming from a different subspecialty might not?
Our programs are pretty big. I think we have I know our program is one of the biggest in the hospitals. So we have a lot more that we have to handle and deal with. So it's kind of just being able to manage all that. I think there are a lot of similarities with other subspecialties because everything is cyclical, but then there are those little things. So we have site exams that they have to take, which other subspecialties do as well, but ours are targeted to neonatology. And I think there's just a bunch of little things that other programs might not have to do either.
Amy, it's interesting that this is your first role, and I'm curious if you were to leave neonatal-perinatal and say move to oncology, for instance, would you feel like a lot of that knowledge would be different? Just build on what Meredith said there about specialties within where you are right now.
Yeah. With any training program, there are similarities just because, we have the ACGME core program requirements, but we have our own subspecialty program requirements that we have to meet on the accreditation level. And then we also have the ABP, the American Board of Pediatrics requirements for neo training. So things are different. The way our milestones are different. The way we do evaluations and procedures, even just the content of when our fellows complete their clinical time, their work products, things like that, what clinical time looks like. I mean, we don't do really outpatient clinics. They don't exist very much in neonatology. There's transports, there's night call, lots of things like that that are different. But if you were going to a different subspecialty, they're probably going to have all of those unique things. Like if I were to go to oncology, I'm the co-chair for our administrators committee for our institution. And UPMC is the second largest GME in the country. We have 150 coordinators. I think I'm trying to remember how many programs, but it's a lot. And so getting to learn about all the intricacies of every specialty and subspecialty, it's a definitely an expanded role from when it was created by the ACGME, 30 years ago. And it's definitely a crucial aspect to any training program. And I think that's something that we can really help with, is to make sure that piece of the neonatal training programs is supported, encouraged, to just further the, future of the neo workforce.
Sure. Meredith, this is an unfair question for you because you've done so much work to get your program off the ground. But I'm curious, have you been approached by other people in other subspecialties to say, tell me more about this? Should we be doing something like this? Have you gotten interest from other subspecialties just about learning about the group and what you're doing?
I think maybe not so much forming a subspecialty group, but working with us in other ways. We've met people along the way. We have a professional development committee, and we've met some of the presenters who want to work with us to work on a curriculum. So we've met another startup roles, but not necessarily a subspecialty.
We're working with some pathology coordinators and administrators on some projects, and then we are going to collaborate with a different pediatric subspecialty. I want to say it's cardiology. They have also formed a group, but it is not as, I wouldn't say it's successful as ours. It's they're struggling with resources and things like that. So we're going to come alongside them and kind of double dip and utilize each other's organization to help our members.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I've noticed is outside of this subspecialty coordinator knowledge, a lot of the great content you're putting out there has been around professional development, which obviously is not specific to your subspecialty, right? You've done LGBTQ safe space, how to convey confidence and credibility, updating your CV. Amy, you're the co-chair of the Wellness and Professional Development Committees for ONTPC. So it's interesting to me that you've done some great content about things that are not specific to neonatal perinatal. How do you and your fellow committee members decide what's most valuable to your audience right now?
I think that we just keep our finger on the pulse of what coordinators are going through and where those needs are. We often do send out surveys, formal and informal. We utilize that Facebook group. When people are making comments, we are asking questions. We notice trends and ask follow-up questions about things that would be beneficial. We also just, I know this, we're definitely GME nerds, and we do research for fun, on nights and weekends, and, stay up to date with things that are going on, things that people are struggling with, so we can find those needs and, help plan out our professional development opportunities. So it's been actually, for me, and Meredith's the chair of the professional development subcommittee with me, it's one of our favorite things. We really enjoy, making those connections with people in the GME world and outside of it to meet those needs and bring that education to our members.
It's really fascinating to me to speak with both of you, and recently we had Natasha Brox on the program, also very involved in professional development, and Meredith. It's really interesting to me that I love the organic nature of this group, that you've decided, we need to take ownership in helping people grow professionally. That's just amazing to me. So congratulations to both of you. Now, we've talked about the history from the early days of COVID up through the Vanilla Ice poster. I don't know if anyone else ever called it that, but I'm going to call it that. But let's talk about the future. You've already mentioned that you're doing some collaboration with some other groups. What are you looking to do next with this group?
We talked about earlier, expanding it. I mean, we would love to get more members involved. So however we can get that out. But we're constantly working with the ONTPD and the TCAN, which Amy had mentioned before. And by doing that, I think we're branching out a lot as well. So we're more involved now with the trainees and their education and getting information out to them. So I think it's really important to keep growing that way. We really want to just help our coordinators improve and grow and boost their confidence. And we know that will help with program coordinator retention. So we just want to keep it going and keep expanding as much as we can in any way. As I said before, we're working with other groups and we're working on a curriculum right now that we kind of have to keep hush-hush, but so we have some fun things going on.
That's great. That's great. Amy, anything that you want to add? Anything you're excited about?
I would say just in adding on with collaborating with ONTPD and TCAN, I think that right now there is a huge concern with the future workforce for pediatric subspecialties. Just with match results that came through this, in March, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think there were 249 unmatched pediatric residency positions in the country, which is concerning because pediatric residents become pediatric subspecialists, and we need them to take care of these babies and kids. So I think that anything that we can do to come alongside ONTP and TCAN to help ensure the future workforce is always a future goal for us. Fellowship is hard, and I think that and it's essential to have a really great program coordinator who is invested in their job and stays in their job to ensure that we have great neonatologists in the future.
Very well said. Yes, we hear about the shortages everywhere. 249. That's a big number. That is a big. That's certainly something that we'll be paying attention to. So we're nearly at the end of the program here. I do have a couple. We asked these questions a couple times, and then I didn't do it for a couple episodes, and people were like, "You need to bring back those questions again." So these are totally unscripted. Our guests do not know what I'm going to ask unless they watched another episode of the show. I'll just assume you have. But the question I'm going to ask is, first off, both of you. This is going to be two questions about your cell phone, so hopefully you have your phone handy. Are you both Android or Apple people? What do you currently carry?
Apple.
Okay, Apple across the board. I mentioned Natasha Brox before. She had a very strong opinion on this. She says she stays away from the Android people. So we get it.
Well, the green comes up when you're typing with Apple, and I see somebody has green. I'm like, oh no,
ruins the group chat immediately.
Oh my goodness! I would encourage you to watch the Natasha Brox episode. She said the exact same thing. That is so funny.
You love her.
Yeah,
I have never met her, but I feel like I would fangirl if I met her. She's, to me, kind of a GME celebrity.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. Well, here's what I'd like to do. Meredith, we're going to start with you. If you could, please, take out your phone, and I'd like you to pull up your photos. You don't need to share it with us, but I'd like you to, if you want to, you can. But just tell us what the last picture is on your phone and what you took it for and how it came to be there.
I bet it's a cat, but let's see. No, it's not. It's a picture of, it's a screenshot of Mexican 3 cheese because I was telling my friend about it. So I took a picture to send her it.
That is wonderful. I love that. Amy, how about for you?
Mine's actually, I was at the Fall Out Boy concert last night. So that is the last picture I took, one of the stage. I think there's some videos too, but yeah.
That is wonderful. I two great answers, and I love it. I mentioned to you before we started rolling here, I'm in the process of moving, and I have random pictures of furniture that I'm trying to unload. So I get it. They're not exact, usually like picturesque pictures of everything. We all take those quick screen grabs. Hey, that was a lot of fun. Thank you both so much for your time. If people have questions about ONTPC, you mentioned that you're working on getting a website live. It's not currently live yet. So as of this moment, what's the best way to reach out to you?
They can just email me. I can spell out my email address. So it's Feldman, F as in Frank, ELDMAN, the letter M as in Mary, and the number 1 at CHOP.edu.
Wonderful.
And I'm very responsive and would love anybody, even if it's not neonatology, anybody who has questions or would like to collaborate, definitely reach out.
Outstanding. Well, and as a person born and raised in Pennsylvania, thank you both for the work you do at CHOP and UPMC, both the just top rate institutions. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This is great.
Well, first principles thinking, it's a problem-solving technique that breaks down the complex problems into the most basic foundational elements. And with ONTPC, what Meredith and Amy are doing is they're taking that world of GME coordinators and they're distilling it down to the elements that are particularly unique to that neonatal-perinatal community. In doing so, they're reducing coordinator stress while increasing both coordinator knowledge and confidence in the role of the 80-some people in their current membership. That's been documented by their 2023 poster at ACGME. One more time, it was Stop, Collaborate, and Listen, creating a culture of coordinator collaboration and mentorship through the formation of a subspecialty organization. Thank you to our guests today, Meredith Feldman and Amy Vezzetti, both from ONTPC. You've been enjoying MedEdge. MedEdge is brought to you by Medtrics. Medtrics, practice medicine, not software. Learn more at medtricslab.com. For Santosh Cherian and everyone on the MedEdge team, I'm Marcus Grimm.